Hi, everybody. Welcome to Topic 6 of Unit 1. This is the sixth in a series of our seven sort of general topical conversations where we're putting out there some basic concepts that we need to understand in order to make the conversations we'll have in Units 2, 3, and 4 more fruitful, more worthwhile. In this case, then, we're talking about the right that a country has to determine who a citizen is of their country. Now, generally speaking, you and I both have the right to a nationality. It's granted to us by a document that's almost universally adhered to. It's called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and it's signed in the aftermath of World War II. Sort of lays out the rights that human beings should have. But two things. First, it's a declaration, meaning it's non-binding. It's just sort of a declarative statement by the global community that these are the rights we'll sort of look to protect. But second, it doesn't specifically say how that right to a nationality will be manifest. In other words, what they did was they left it up to each individual country to determine who the nationals are of their country. So yes, you and I, no matter where we are in the world, we have the general right to a nationality. Now, do we have rights to a specific nationality? That's a different question and one that's more complicated and one, believe it or not, I'm sure you get by now, is going to tie back to sports in interesting ways. So let's start here with the basics of citizenship, this basic question, and we'll use the two main ways that citizenship is determined at birth. So you can be a citizen by birth at birth, or a citizen at birth by heritage or blood. So these are the two main ways, and then some sort of combination of the two that states around the world determine who has citizenship or not. Right? So generally speaking, you have a right. Specifically speaking, it might not play in that way. So by birth works in about 30 countries, most of them in the Americas, and it's the way that our Constitution lays it out too. This Constitution Jus Soli, it means that all persons born in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof and are citizens. In other words, there's an unfettered right to birth by citizenship. If you're born in the United States and most of its territories, but not all of its territories, it's an odd quirk that prevents some of our territorial residents from having citizenship, but others do. You are a citizen by birth, so you don't have to do anything else but be born here. So the advantage of that is it doesn't matter if your parents aren't citizens. If your parents give birth to you while you're in the United States, you're a citizen by birth. It's a right granted by the Constitution, and it's one that is very common throughout the Americas. And the reason for that is we were sort of collectively in this part of the world frustrated by the former colonial masters swooping in and in the naval context, certainly the British impressing our citizens into the British Navy by arguing that we weren't really citizens anyway. So we established this right by birth so that we could be sure to protect our own citizens, and it's continued to this day. The other way is by heritage or blood. The idea is that the citizenship of your parents determines your citizenship of you. So that means that if you were born in one of these countries to a citizen of another country, instead of being by birth a citizen of that country, they would say, no, your parental heritage determines where your citizenship lies. But because then other countries don't recognize that, it becomes very complicated globally, and some people then are left as what we call stateless people. But the basic question is citizenship. Who's a citizen? Now, the other way to become a citizen is to naturalize. This basically means that neither blood nor birth determines your citizenship, but that you become a citizen through some other means, through migration, through marriage, through service in the military, through something, right? So in the United States, naturalization is a common practice where people come here for a variety of reasons and then choose to become naturalized American citizens and are accepted as such by the United States government. So that's a basic way. Now, in some parts of the world, sports is a tool to naturalize more quickly than others. So in the United States, we don't allow any advantage to people who are participating in sports who we might want to represent us in the Olympics or in a World Cup or a global competition in track and field or something to color the way that that all plays out. On the other hand, when other countries look at their citizenship rules, they naturalize sometimes people much more quickly because of sporting prowess. So here's a picture of a citizen of Tunisia. His name's Francileudo dos Santos, who was born in Brazil and who in the late 1990s came to play soccer for a Tunisian club team. Now, he's really good. He scored 41 goals in 60 games over 3 seasons. That's an amazing strike rate. And before he went and signed to go play in another country, they put him into the naturalization process. And they did it because they wanted him to play for the Tunisian national team. He eventually became eligible. He played for them 40 times over a 5-year period. He scored 22 goals, again, a remarkable strike rate. He was naturalized. He followed their rules, became Tunisian. He played for Tunisia. He qualified, helped them qualify, and played in the 2006 World Cup. So their process can move forward. They don't have any restrictions on advantage or disadvantage. As long as they follow their rules, they can naturalize whoever they want. And you'll find that there's, for example, lots of states that are looking to have sporting success. And instead of waiting the years or decades it takes to develop a sporting system of their own, they may help borrow people from other countries. Now, we do it too. Big countries like Germany do it too. The question is, do you get an advantage by being an athlete or not? And in this case, they do in some countries. For example, in the Dos Santos example. Some certain sports then have expatriates or people from particular countries playing all over the world. So this would be something where, because your country is so good at a sport and there's a logjam in opportunities to play for that country, then people will leave, athletes will leave and go play in other countries, become citizens there and play for them. Now, they have to fit the country's rules on naturalization, and they have to fit the federation, the sporting federation's rules on what it takes to become a citizen. In some sporting federations, they're not particularly worried if you played, for example, badminton for China and then moved to another country and then played badminton for them. In others, they're very particular. You can't, for example, play for the Chinese national soccer team, move to the United States and play for the U.S. national soccer team. It's forbidden by the federation. It wouldn't matter how the citizenship worked because the citizenship rights intersect with the federation's rights to determine who's eligible to play. But in key sports, then you have interesting sort of expatriate communities. So these are Chinese badminton players who came of age in China, played in the Chinese youth system, and became very good. And then they all competed in Olympic Games and international championships for France, Germany, and the Netherlands. So in badminton, that sort of key sport means that there's a lot more people competing, Chinese competing as nationals in other countries. Now, it goes the other way too, for us. Like, so this is the Women's World Cup. I'm recording this in the summer of 2015. We're just getting ready for the World Cup final, and the U.S. is playing in the final. Well, the U.S. has been playing all over the place too, if you look at where its citizens are. So here on this picture, you'll meet three athletes who've played in this competition, not the only three, who are American citizens playing for other countries. You have Courtney Dike playing for Nigeria, Karen Beardsley, this goalkeeper here for England, and Ali Riley back for New Zealand. So what they determined was that their opportunities to play for the United States, that maybe they weren't quite good enough, or maybe they just wanted to take that right of citizenship from their other countries and either naturalize and become dual citizens or claim another right we'll talk about next that sports often grant of heritage. They'll have to make that determination. On the other hand, Sofia Huerta, who's this other picture here in the bottom left, she plays professionally for the Chicago Red Stars of the Women's Soccer League. She could and might have been starting for Mexico in this World Cup because she has this right to heritage there. She could play for Mexico. She'd like to play for the United States, and she thinks she can be good enough, and if she bides her time, she can be part of the U.S. national team. So each athlete has to decide for themselves what to do. Now, this grandparentage idea, lots of countries give you that right to be a citizen. And you remember that slide we looked at first with this one here where it talked about by birth or by heritage, and this picture down here says if you've got grandparents, you can become a citizen some places. And in the case of sports, they don't require you to be a citizen, but if you're eligible to be a citizen in some places, you can then have the right to play based on that. But it's up to the country to determine and the federation to determine whether that's a process they'll let go. And it was most famously started by a group called the Oriundi, and these are folks who had Italian and Argentine heritage. Now, as Argentina developed as an agricultural superpower in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they needed seasonal workers. And lots of the seasonal workers came from Southern Europe, and particularly from Italy, where they also had an agricultural sector, and seasonal workers could work in the northern hemisphere in their harvest season, get on boats and go to Argentina and work in their harvest season in the southern hemisphere and go back and forth. But it meant that you had people who were parents or grandparents of people born in Argentina who may have then later stayed in Argentina, moved out of the agricultural processing or picking business and gotten other careers. And so the Oriundi were these people who were Argentine by birth, but Italian by heritage. And Italy very famously used them to great World Cup success in the 1930s and the 1950s and on. And it's Italy's right to claim them through that grandparentage thing. Now, a lot of countries are becoming much more multi-ethnic than they used to be. That used to be that as you watched sporting teams from around the world, you would have pretty strictly people who looked and acted the same as their peers on a team, all appearing on a team. For example, in 1999, I went to a soccer game between Germany and Brazil that was competed in something called the Confederations Cup. It was held in Mexico, and the German team that I watched play was made up entirely of German people of German heritage, Teutonic heritage, who were from the country, who were both parents were Germanic, and they grew up there. But if you go watch the Germans now, you'll see that they have a very mixed heritage of people who are from all over the world, where your families and things are much more complicated. And basically work patterns are in this, who's working where, naturalization is working there. Even something odd like Lucas Podolski, he's born in Poland, he's Polish German, but he's born in a region of Poland that was German before World War World War II. It was lost to Germany after the war. It was a piece of territory they had taken away from them, became part of Poland. They give rights to people, citizenship rights to people who are of German descent, who are born in that region. So there's reasons why you would give that citizenship. So some of these people are naturalized, some are born, but they all have different sort of complicated parentage. And one of the most interesting examples that I know of is happened in both the 2010 and 2014 World Cups when Germany played Ghana, where half-brothers, Boateng brothers, Jerome Boateng, who played for Germany, and Kevin Prince Boateng, who played for Ghana, lined up against one another in the World Cup. It's fascinating to me then that you can have this multi-ethnic situation where each country is determining who's eligible to play for them. How does the citizenship by birth work? How does citizenship by blood work? How does naturalization work? And those are different all over the world, and they sort of come together in this example of the Boatengs in the 2010 and 2014 World Cups. I think maybe my very favorite example of all time is back with Italy, where you had an Italian American born and raised in New Jersey, who wanted to play for Italy, and he became very, very good. He was playing in, again, a Confederations Cup in 2009, and in the Confederations Cup, the team of 23 people on the U.S. national team advanced out of a group that Italy was also in. Italy did not advance, and so this headline from Soccer by Eve still is always going to be one of my favorites of all time. 23 Americans advance, and one goes home as Rossi from New Jersey was left behind. So he's on the Italian national team. He has the right to Italian citizenship. He has the right to play for the Italian national team. And there he is going home. He's an American going home as the Americans advance. Mauro Camoranesi, he's another one of these Italian Argentines or Argentine Italians. So that's still going on. And I really probably should have included here a picture of one of the most famous Italian players, who is Mario Balotelli, who's born in Ghana and adopted by an Italian family. And so now you have one of the most iconic Italian players currently in the world, happens to be an African man by birth, but not by naturalization. He's Italian. So, complicated stuff. Countries have the right to let whoever they want to be citizens following their own rules, but that doesn't stop sporting federations, sporting bingos from trying to regulate that. I got some articles and readings here for you to sort of understand the process, when it works well, when it works poorly. None of them are terribly long, so even though there's 4 of them, I hope you'll take the time to read them and sort of get this concept. Countries determine their citizens. Citizens compete for national teams. Federations want to weigh in on who those people can be, and it all fits together in this sports and international affairs sort of way as we go forward.